Who remembers this wretched stain on the judicial system? An activist pretending to be a judge who spat twice in the face of Tesla shareholders and tried to rob Elon Musk of his fairly earned Tesla compensation. That would be Judge Kathleen Mick. See you next Tuesday for those playing along at home, who has single-handedly destroyed the state of Delaware's reputation as the place to incorporate companies and isn't done burning the state down, currently going after Coinbase. And in fact, amazingly, this blight on the justice system herself has spawned a literal account on X called Leave Delaware, whose sole purpose and intent is to encourage people to get the fuck out of this now shithole state if you're a company incorporated there, lest you face the wrath of this wretched hater of success. Some of you may not be aware, but remember when Musk made his efforts to acquire Twitter, then had some serious questions about bots? Now, this is the same wench who forced Musk to follow through with his purchase on that acquisition as well. It's almost like she has it in for him. Today, an update. This shit still is dragging on. That's right. The 2022 Twitter acquisition by Musk still causing him pain. Musk recently gave testimony and hilariously sent a decoy team to the courthouse to dodge some of the waiting media. Check this out. Hilarious trolling. So here is the vehicle they believe contains Elon Musk. Although you can hear them start to realize what's happening. The wheels are turning in the background a little bit. So watch this. That right there is not Elon Musk.
There's also the other car to the right. I'll keep an eye on it. All right, here you go. Josh. Gee.
Well played. The fact that years after the Twitter acquisition, Musk is still wasting his fucking time giving testimony in court is infuriating. By the way, I do have a solution to this entire problem. It's called loser pays. Frivolous lawsuit, lose the lawsuit, you brought the lawsuit, you pay everyone's legal costs. That's the only way to stop these insane, wasteful, money-grabbing endeavours. We're going to look at some of Musk's testimony in a moment, but the headline here from Doomberg Law sums things up fairly well. Elon Musk testified he had to pay full price to buy Twitter in 2022 because the Delaware judge in the company's lawsuit to make him consummate the $44 billion deal was, quote, biased against him, aka Kathleen Mick. See you next Tuesday. He ain't wrong. So before we get to some of this epic testimony from Musk, I want to take a moment to demonstrate that Musk's assertion that this fake judge, an activist pretending to be a judge, cosplaying, LARPing as a judge, when in fact she simply has a bone to pick with successful entrepreneurs, creators of jobs, value, successful companies. When Musk calls her biased, this is not an opinion, it's a fucking fact. By the way, in case anyone watching is not aware, this is the activist who tried to rob Musk of his fairly earned 2018 Tesla CEO Performance Award, one which shareholders overwhelmingly voted in support of. Let me show this bias as easily as I possibly can. This is her, quote, opinion, written by Kathleen McSeebohm. Just check this out. The first sentence in her opinion reads, was the richest person in the world overpaid? This in and of itself is a dead giveaway of her extreme bias, a microcosm into the retardation and activism as opposed to fair, balanced and neutral opinion. For one, Elon Musk's status in terms of on-paper assets and net worth is entirely irrelevant. It has absolutely nothing to do with this case. Yet, the very first sentence. Why is this here? The answer, of course, is billionaire bad. Elon, biggest billionaire, therefore Elon, biggest bad. This is just political leftardation at its finest. Tax the rich, billionaire bad. If this was the only thing you knew, you could already throw this opinion out. Put it in the trash. It's worthless. But wait, there's more. Beyond the sheer retardation required to have the very first sentence of your supposedly unbiased opinion read like this, is that this was a case regarding Elon Musk's 2018 Performance Award at Tesla. At the time this performance award was approved by shareholders, Elon Musk was not the richest person in the world. Not even close. This right here is an IQ test. If you are to read this alleged opinion from this alleged judge, and you see this as the first sentence, and you're aware that, despite the fact that this is entirely irrelevant and shows bias, in addition to that, at the time of this compensation package being awarded, it wasn't even true, if you don't read this and see unbelievable bias, you are, in fact, retarded. So when Musk points out the bias here, it's not opinion, it's a fact. And just in case anyone might think that, well, I'm just a deluded Tesla fanboy and Elon D writer, I'm the biased one, I've asked Grok. In short, do you agree with my analysis that this opinion shows clear bias toward Elon and billionaires? Grok opens with the quote, was the richest person in the world overpaid? Grok says, you're dead right on the timeline. This framing is sloppy, anachronistic, and irrelevant to the actual legal issues, which is why it screams prejudged narrative, e.g. billionaire bad, to critics. By the way, I want to remind everybody, this decision was ultimately thrown out. It was overturned by the Delaware Supreme Court. In other words, they said, fuck off, Karen. Grok continues, here's the breakdown with the cold facts. By the way, I haven't read this yet, I just prompted, but I can't wait to see these supposed cold facts. The timeline mismatch, factually wrong at the relevant moment. March 2018, when the board put the package to Musk, Musk was nowhere near the world's richest person. Musk's net worth was around 20 billion. At the time, Jeff Bezos was number one at about 112 billion. Next point from Grok. Musk didn't become the world's richest until January 2021, after Tesla's massive run that his package, the compensation package, helped drive. Which, by the way, just to be really clear, the sole reason that Musk was able to shoot up this list, I mean, a little bit of SpaceX, but predominantly on the back of Tesla, was after the 2018 CEO Performance Award. He achieved every tranche, every milestone, which gave him Tesla options. The value of the company, Tesla did roughly a 10x, meaning that Tesla shareholders benefited to the tune of about a 10x on the Tesla shares they held. As a result, Musk got a very small portion of that. Grok adds, "See you next Tuesday" wrote her opinion on January 30th, 2024, when Musk was number one. So she's using Musk's 2024 status as the hook for a case about a 2018 transaction. That's not analysis. That's editorializing with hindsight. Why this is irrelevant to the actual case and shows the bias. The legal question under Delaware law wasn't, does the richest guy have too much money? Or even, was Musk overpaid in hindsight? It was entire fairness review of the 2018 process and price. So what Grok's detailing here, what the actual case was about, and has nothing to do with Musk getting paid more than he deserves, etc. It was the board independent, and did they negotiate at arm's length? By the way, again, her decision has been overturned, so we know the answer to all of these questions, right? Were disclosures to shareholders full and fair? Was the package a reasonable incentive at the time? 100% performance-based, by the way. E.g., if Musk didn't hit even the first milestone, he got nothing. Musk's personal net worth ranking in 2024 has zero bearing on any of that. Delaware corporate law doesn't have a wealth cap or a billionaire bad test. Moving on, Grok continues. It ignores the core economics of the deal. The package was designed to explode in value only if Tesla crushed it, which it did, creating hundreds of billions in shareholder value. Complaining about the outcome after the fact is like saying a salesman who hits every quota was overpaid because his commission made him rich. The wealth surge was the point of the performance hurdles. Why it screams billionaire bad activism over neutral judging. Neutral judicial opinions lead with the legal standard, the procedural posture, or the facts at the relevant time. This one opens up with a snarky rhetorical question that sounds ripped from a Twitter. Grok is so good. Ripped from a Twitter thread or progressive op-ed. It personalizes the entire case around Musk's success and wealth class instead of the board's duties or shareholder ratification. That's not dispassionate application of the law. It's setting the tone that the real issue is, quote, too much money in one guy's hands. So let's recap. A frivolous lawsuit by an alleged Tesla shareholder who had about 1 quadrillionth of the company, a handful of shares, results in Kathleen McSee next Tuesday spitting in the face of Tesla shareholders, trying to rob Musk of his fairly earned compensation, wasting enormous amounts of his time, and also completely destroying the reputation of Delaware as a state to incorporate businesses. Clearly biased. This same wench is the one who forced Elon Musk to follow through with his acquisition of Twitter after he'd made an initial offer but had some questions around the bot numbers, which were, in my opinion, clearly total bullshit. And as a result of some of Musk's public commentary around the time that he was proposing to acquire Twitter, another frivolous lawsuit wasting his fucking time. I've skipped ahead quite a bit, video starting to drag on. I just want to get to the point here. When Musk was looking at acquiring Twitter, at some point he posted that the deal was on hold. He had a lot of questions about the alleged bot numbers, which I covered in detail at the time. Musk's lawyer said, quote, Mr. Musk didn't break the law. He wanted to know the truth about bots on Twitter. The article continues. On Wednesday, Mr. Musk said he got cold feet over the Twitter purchase because the company's executives were not giving him enough information about how it determined how many accounts on the platform were fake. The company's former leadership had maintained that no more than 5% of Twitter's daily active users were bots. Mr. Musk speculated that number could be 50% or even 90%. Now, we'll get back to this in a moment. Mr. Musk said that he was shocked. Are you ready for this? During a May 2022 meeting with Twitter executives, in which he asked them to explain how they calculated their bot numbers. And they did not provide the details he wanted. Quote, "They did not actually know. My jaw hit the floor. That was stunning." And you want to know why the Twitter executives couldn't explain their methodology, how they derived this number? Anyone take a guess? Well, here's the answer, in my opinion, allegedly blah, fucking blah, blah, blah. Because they didn't even make an effort or an attempt to calculate the number of bots or fake accounts that were monetizable on the site. They lied quarter after quarter after quarter. A fiction. Well, yeah, that number sounds good. We'll just use that this time and next time. They didn't try. And again, this is another one of those IQ tests. If you've got at least a few brain cells to rub together, you'll understand when I go through the logic. But before we get to that, it's critical to understand that this was what gave Musk cold feet. He makes an offer for a product. He believes he's getting X, no pun intended here, which includes a platform where 95+% of the monetizable daily active users are in fact actual human beings, so you could actually sell advertising to them and other products. Like, a bot's probably not going to purchase anything through an ad on Twitter. A human might. This is very important. But he has some concerns. Well, can you guys just demonstrate to me how you've calculated this number of 5% or less of the monetizable users being bots? I just want to make sure, because that's the entire value of the product here is the active users. Musk just wanting to make sure he was in fact getting what he was paying for. So imagine you wanted to buy yourself a new pet, a pet whippet. You see a listing online and somebody has a nice photograph. Here's the potential new pet. You negotiate on price. Everything seems good. The photo seems a bit professional. You just want to make sure. So you say, hey, could you maybe send me a video just so I can, don't want to waste my time driving all the way out there, and then it turns out you don't even have a fucking whippet to sell me. And maybe it's an old photo. Maybe the whippet's much older, disheveled. But just want to make sure. Can you just prove to me that what I'm paying for is what I'm going to be getting? You have some suspicions that this person does not in fact have a whippet to sell you, but some world-class taxidermy instead. You're not calling this person a lie. You just want to make sure that you're not going to drive all the way out there with your money to purchase what you believe is going to be the whippet and end up getting this. I mean, fair's fair, right? Can you just prove to me that I'm getting what I'm paying for? That was simple, right? And Musk was starting to suspect that maybe he might be paying for this, not this. So he posts publicly that, the deal's on hold. He just wants to verify that Twitter's not trying to sell him this while claiming to be selling this. So back to this form. The Form 10Q, filed by Twitter. Quote, "We have performed an internal review of a sample of accounts and estimate that the average of false or spam accounts during the second quarter of 2022 represented fewer than 5% of our monthly daily active users during the quarter." Now, look, this sounds all good and well, although what exactly is this internal review sample of accounts? How did you derive this estimate? What did you do? What's your methodology? But of course, that would assume they actually fucking did a review and have a methodology instead of we're just lying every quarter. Allegedly. Let me cut to the chase. Who's ready for yet another IQ test? Thanks once again to Grok. This same fucking line appeared first in a quarterly filing in February 2019. Okay. The following quarter, the exact same line, copy-pasted again. Maybe 2 quarters in a row could be a coincidence. Maybe they just so happen to have derived the same exact estimate of fewer than 5% in 2 consecutive quarters. I guess it's possible. But just jumping in here, it's also possible that those who control armies of bots would occasionally come upon a new technique or a new way of slipping a few more through, or maybe Twitter could proactively discover armies of bots and remove a lot. So you would expect that quarter after quarter after quarter, over a number of years, that this estimate would fluctuate. Sometimes it might be under 2% if they had a reliable methodology. Sometimes it might be under 6%. Maybe the bots won a little bit that quarter. Yet what we see here is the same motherfucking line, copy and pasted quarter after 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 quarter. Yes, I repeated myself on purpose. The exact same fucking line for 15 consecutive quarters. Really? Your methodology for 15 consecutive quarters came up with the exact same estimate? Not once did this estimate of fewer than 5% vary at all. Not once was it 6%. Not once was it 4%. Really? No, not really. This is an IQ test. If you believe this bullshit, if you think they actually made an effort to verify the number of accounts on the... But if you literally think that this is what happened, and they weren't just lying and copying and pasting the same shit, not even trying, you're retarded. This was the biggest red flag. So Musk rightly asks, well, could you just show me exactly how you end up with the exact same fucking number every quarter? That's a fair thing, right? Of course, at the time, the haters were claiming that Elon Musk just decided that he didn't want to buy Twitter anymore. The fact was, he just wanted to make sure he was getting what he was paying for, but that's not a fun narrative. Elon's retarded. He's overpaid. The stock market's crashing, therefore he doesn't want to buy Twitter anymore. As opposed to, well, actually, he just wants to make sure that the key metric determining the value of the asset, which is monetizable users, is in fact accurate. So let's read this updated piece from Bloomberg. Elon Musk testified he had to pay full price to buy Twitter in 2022 because the Delaware judge, actually activists pretending to be a judge, in the company's lawsuit to make him consummate the $44 billion deal was biased against him. As we've shown, that is in fact accurate. Musk told jurors Wednesday that his lawyers warned him that he was unlikely to defeat Twitter's suit. No, by the way, again, just some more context. This is so funny. Musk wants to acquire Twitter. Twitter essentially says, no, fuck you. The whole poison pill thing covered at the time. Then, this actually happened. He ends up getting sued by Twitter later to force him to buy the company. So first they didn't want to get acquired by Musk, then they sue him. So when they're talking about being unlikely to defeat Twitter's suit, they're referring to Twitter suing Musk to finish the transaction and purchase the company. And Kathleen McSeebom, the extremely biased activist pretending to be a judge, in the opinion of Musk's lawyers, was likely to force him to finish the transaction. So let's just read this again with that context. Musk told jurors Wednesday that his lawyers warned him that he was unlikely to defeat Twitter's suit because McCormick, quote, was extremely biased against me. Musk said, quote, the lawyers said there was no choice but to give in. And in fairness, I think this probably was fair advice from Musk's lawyers. You have an extremely biased judge who has it in for Musk. Things can drag on for years. Best thing to do, probably just bite the bullet. Acquire the company, overpay, end up with a lot more bots and a lot less users potentially, and figure out how to monetize it, turn it around, which, by the way, he has done remarkably well, and just move on. Yet still, years later, Musk's time being wasted giving testimony in court because of an ex-Twitter shareholder who's really just a front for a massive vulture, aka class action law firm. Again, how do we solve this? Quite simply, loser pays. You bring a lawsuit and you lose. You pay the legal costs of everyone involved. No more frivolous lawsuits. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.